I walked into the boardroom and froze. My boss, Trevor Kane, stood at the front presenting my invention like it was his own masterpiece. The SmartFlow sensor system I'd spent 18 months perfecting was displayed on the screen with his name listed as lead innovator. Every executive in that room applauded while I stood in the doorway, invisible. Trevor's eyes found mine across the crowd, and he gave me the smallest, most deliberate wink I'd ever seen. My stomach dropped as the CEO announced Trevor would receive a promotion to Vice President of Innovation, effective immediately. The room erupted in congratulations while I gripped the door frame to steady myself. This couldn't be happening, but it was. My innovation, my sleepless nights, my breakthrough that would revolutionize industrial monitoring systems, all credited to the man who'd done nothing but steal it. I sat in my car for 40 minutes, hands shaking on the steering wheel. Rain hammered against the windshield while I tried to process what just happened. Every late night in the lab flashed through my mind. Every failed prototype. Every breakthrough moment when the pieces finally clicked together. I documented everything in my personal notebooks, kept meticulous records of every design iteration, or so I thought. When I finally checked my work laptop, my blood ran cold. Every file related to SmartFlow had been moved to Trevor's directory. My name had been systematically scrubbed from project documents, replaced with his. Even the internal patent application listed him as sole inventor. My phone buzzed with an email from HR. Subject line, Department Reassignment. They were moving me out of innovation and into technical support, effective Monday morning. By Tuesday, I understood the full scope of Trevor's scheme. He hadn't just stolen my work. He destroyed my reputation to cover his tracks. Coworkers who used to grab lunch with me now avoided eye contact in hallways. I overheard two engineers talking near the coffee machine. One said Trevor had warned everyone I was becoming unstable, making wild claims about project ownership. The other responded that maybe Trevor really had developed SmartFlow himself. Maybe I'd just been a minor contributor who couldn't handle not getting credit. I wanted to scream. Instead, I went to my new basement office in technical support and started planning. If Trevor wanted to play dirty, I'd show him what real strategy looked like. But first, I needed evidence that couldn't be erased or explained away. That night, I tore apart my home office searching for anything Trevor couldn't have deleted. My old notebooks were there, thank God, filled with time-stamped sketches and calculations dating back 20 months. I found prototype photos on an external hard drive I'd forgotten about. Voice memos where I'd recorded breakthrough ideas while driving home from work. But the real treasure was a shared cloud backup I'd set up on my personal account 2 years ago. Trevor's IT team had wiped my work computer, but they didn't know about my automatic cloud sync. Inside those folders, I found something that made my hands shake. Screenshots of my original designs with metadata showing Trevor had accessed my office computer at 11 p.m. on dates when I wasn't there. He'd literally photographed my work after hours. I requested a private meeting with Trevor, keeping my voice calm and professional. He agreed immediately, probably eager to gloat. In his new corner office, he leaned back in his leather chair with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. I laid out my evidence, my documentation, my time-stamped notebooks. He listened patiently, then laughed. "I own everything you create here," he said simply. "Check your employment contract. Intellectual property clause. Every idea you have while working for this company belongs to us, which means it belongs to me now." He leaned forward, his smile vanishing. "Keep pushing this and I'll have you fired for insubordination and breach of confidentiality. I already have HR documentation prepared." He paused at the door. "I control the narrative here. You're nothing without this company." The demotion became official on Friday. My computer access was restricted to basic technical support systems. I couldn't even view the innovation department's shared drives anymore. Then I learned something that made my blood boil. The company had scheduled a massive investor presentation for next month. They planned to pitch SmartFlow as their breakthrough product, projecting $50 million in first-year revenue. Trevor would present everything to venture capitalists and industry leaders, cementing his reputation as a visionary innovator. I sat in my basement cubicle, surrounded by password reset tickets, contemplating whether I should just quit, walk away from this nightmare and start over somewhere else. I was packing my desk when someone tapped my shoulder. It was Melissa from Data Security, someone I'd barely spoken to in 3 years. Melissa glanced around nervously before speaking. "I know what Trevor did," she whispered. "I saw him breaking into your office 6 months ago late at night. I thought maybe you'd given him permission, but after hearing the rumors, I checked the security logs." She pulled out her phone and showed me time-stamped footage of Trevor using a master key to enter my workspace after midnight. Multiple dates, multiple entries, always when the building was nearly empty. "I have more," she continued. "Messages between him and it requesting your files be transferred. Camera logs showing him photographing your desk." She paused, her expression hardening. "But if I give you everything, I want something. When you win this fight, I want stock options in whatever comes next. Trevor's not the only one tired of being invisible here." We met at a coffee shop 3 blocks from the office. Melissa brought a laptop containing files I didn't know existed. She explained that Trevor had bribed someone in it to delete my original project folders, but the company used automatic cloud backups that nobody could fully erase. Everything lived on a forgotten backup server that Melissa had access to through her security clearance. As we scrolled through recovered files, my chest tightened. This wasn't just about SmartFlow. The backup contained project folders from before I even joined the company, showing Trevor had stolen ideas from at least 3 other engineers over the past 5 years. Different innovations, same pattern. Steal the work, discredit the creator, take full credit. One folder belonged to an engineer named Raymond Phillips who'd been fired 2 years ago. Melissa pulled up his termination record, highlighting the reason given: unsatisfactory performance. I found Raymond working at a grocery store across town, stocking shelves in the produce section. When I introduced myself and mentioned Trevor's name, his face went pale. We talked in his car during his lunch break, and he broke down describing what happened. Trevor had stolen his automated quality control system, then systematically sabotaged Raymond's other projects to make him look incompetent. When Raymond tried fighting back, Trevor used his executive connections to have him terminated and blacklisted. "He ruined my life," Raymond said, tears streaming down his face. "No tech company will hire me now. They all believe his version." But Raymond had kept evidence. Files, emails, and something explosive. Proof that Trevor had paid someone in accounting to falsify budget reports, making it look like Raymond had mismanaged project funds. Raymond handed me a USB drive. "Destroy him," he whispered. The investor dinner was invitation, only at an upscale restaurant downtown. I couldn't get in as myself, but I could get in as catering staff. I borrowed a white shirt and black vest, then showed up 2 hours early claiming to be a last-minute replacement server. The manager was too stressed to verify my story. I spent the evening refilling water glasses and removing plates while Trevor performed for a table full of wealthy investors. He described SmartFlow's development with convincing detail, having clearly memorized my technical documentation. But then he said something that made me grip my serving tray tightly. He'd already filed a patent application listing himself as sole inventor. The investors loved it. They discussed valuations, market projections, and acquisition possibilities. I recorded everything on my phone, hidden in my vest pocket. By dessert, I had 2 hours of Trevor lying to investors. I met with a patent attorney named Victoria Cross who specialized in intellectual property theft. She reviewed my evidence for 3 hours, her expression growing darker with each document. "Legally, this is complicated," she finally said. "Your employment contract does assign IP rights to the company, but Trevor fraudulently claimed personal credit and filed for a patent under his name. That's fraud." She leaned forward. "Here's what we do. Let him go fully public with SmartFlow. Let him do the investor presentation. The bigger the stage, the harder the fall. We'll wait until after his moment of triumph, then file a comprehensive lawsuit with all your evidence. Federal court, not company arbitration. We'll expose everything publicly. I asked if we'd win. She smiled coldly. With what you've shown me, he'll be lucky to avoid criminal charges. I returned to work acting completely defeated. I stopped arguing, stopped defending myself, just quietly handled technical support tickets in my basement office. Trevor noticed immediately and couldn't resist gloating. He stopped by my cubicle one afternoon, leaning against the partition with theatrical concern. "I'm glad you've accepted reality," he said. "Fighting me would have destroyed what's left of your career. This way, you can still have a future here. Maybe in a few years, if you work hard, we'll consider moving you back to innovation." He assigned me humiliating tasks clearly designed to remind me of my new status: organizing old storage closets, digitizing ancient paper files, cleaning out the basement archives. I accepted everything without complaint, playing the role of broken employee perfectly. But while organizing a forgotten storage closet, I found something that changed everything again. Hidden in an old filing cabinet behind broken office chairs was a folder marked "Confidential Personnel Records." Inside were contracts and concept drafts dating back 8 years, all showing a pattern of stolen innovations. Trevor had been doing this since he first joined the company as a junior manager. He'd built his entire career on theft. But the real prize was a USB drive taped inside the folder, labeled simply "Insurance." I plugged it into my personal laptop that night and found email chains between Trevor and 3 company executives, including the CFO. They'd known about at least 2 cases of stolen work and had actively helped cover them up to protect the company's reputation and their stock values. The emails explicitly acknowledged Trevor's theft and discussed strategies for discrediting the original inventors. This wasn't just fraud anymore. This was conspiracy. I was reviewing the USB files when my basement office door opened unexpectedly. The CFO, Mitchell Barnes, stood in the doorway, his eyes immediately locking onto my laptop screen. For 3 long seconds, neither of us moved. Then he stepped inside and closed the door behind him, his expression carefully neutral. "What exactly do you think you found?" he asked quietly. I didn't answer. He sighed and sat down, forcing a diplomatic smile. "Look, everyone makes mistakes. Trevor maybe got a bit overzealous taking credit, but the company needs this innovation. We've already promised investors. How about we make this right? $200,000, a good reference letter, and you move on quietly." He pulled out a pre-written settlement agreement from his jacket. "Or," he continued, his smile vanishing, "we can make things very difficult for you. Your choice." I refused his offer. Mitchell's friendly facade cracked immediately. He stood up, leaning over my desk with barely controlled anger. "You're making a serious mistake," he hissed. "Trevor isn't the only one with connections here. You think you can fight the entire executive team? We'll bury you in legal fees alone." He left without another word. The next morning, my keycard didn't work at the building entrance. Security informed me my access had been permanently revoked. HR had couriered termination paperwork to my apartment overnight, citing vague policy violations and performance issues. I'd been officially fired and escorted off company property without even being allowed to collect my personal belongings. My career in this industry was supposedly over. That afternoon, Trevor called my personal phone. "I told you to stay quiet," he said. "Now you're blacklisted. No tech company within 500 miles will touch you." Instead of panicking, I executed the plan Victoria and I had developed. I took the investor dinner footage and edited it carefully, creating a 15-minute video highlighting every lie Trevor told, every claim he made about developing SmartFlow personally, every technical detail he'd stolen directly from my documentation. Then I uploaded it to every social media platform anonymously, titling it "Corporate Innovation Fraud Exposed." Within 6 hours, the video had 50,000 views. By morning, it had 3 million. Tech industry journalists started investigating. Engineers who'd worked with Trevor shared their own suspicious experiences in the comments. The video became a case study in corporate corruption, shared across LinkedIn, Reddit, and tech forums worldwide. The company's stock price dropped 12% before lunch, as investors demanded explanations. The company called an emergency, all-hands meeting. Trevor stood at the front with the CEO and entire executive team, trying to control the damage. He claimed the video was manipulated by a disgruntled former employee spreading false allegations. He insisted every innovation he'd presented was legitimately his work. But halfway through his explanation, a journalist from a major tech publication stood up in the back row. "Mr. Kane, we've received documents suggesting patent fraud and systematic theft of employee innovations. Would you care to comment on the time-stamped evidence showing the SmartFlow designs existed months before you joined the project?" Trevor's face went red. He stammered something about misunderstandings and internal documentation errors. The CEO cut him off, announcing they'd be conducting an immediate internal investigation. I watched the live stream from my apartment, finally allowing myself to smile. I filed the lawsuit 3 days later with Victoria representing me. The complaint was 90 pages long, meticulously documenting every piece of evidence we'd collected: time-stamped notebooks, cloud backup files, security footage, email chains, testimony from Melissa and Raymond, the fraudulent patent application, everything. We didn't just sue Trevor personally. We sued the company and 3 executives who'd knowingly covered up the theft. Within a week, 4 more former employees joined the lawsuit with their own stolen innovation claims. The case attracted attention from federal regulators who opened a parallel investigation into the company's intellectual property practices and corporate governance. The legal pressure became overwhelming. The company's stock continued falling as investors fled. Major clients postponed contracts pending investigation outcomes. Trevor hired 3 different law firms as the walls closed in around him. The preliminary hearing happened 6 weeks later in federal court. Trevor showed up with an expensive legal team, still maintaining his innocence. But Victoria was ruthless. She presented my original SmartFlow sketches with timestamps clearly predating Trevor's involvement. She played security footage showing him breaking into my office. She displayed email chains where executives acknowledged the theft. Trevor's lawyers tried arguing about employment contracts and IP ownership, but Victoria countered that Trevor had committed fraud by filing a personal patent and lying to investors. The judge reviewed the evidence carefully, then asked Trevor to explain the timestamps on my original documentation. Trevor stumbled through contradictory explanations, his composure finally cracking. When the judge displayed my sketches next to Trevor's patent filing side by side, Trevor's face drained of all color. The courtroom went silent. The settlement came 2 months later. Trevor was terminated immediately, forfeiting all stock options and bonuses. The company revoked his patent application and issued a public statement acknowledging my sole authorship of SmartFlow. They offered me $7 million in damages, full patent ownership, and a formal apology, but I refused their offer to return as an employee. Instead, I launched my own company using SmartFlow as the foundation product. Melissa became my chief security officer. Raymond joined as senior engineer, finally getting the recognition he deserved. Within 6 months, we had contracts with 3 major manufacturing firms. The investors who'd attended Trevor's dinner contacted me directly, apologizing and requesting meetings. My former coworkers, the ones who'd believed Trevor's lies, started sending LinkedIn connection requests. Then one day, an application appeared in our hearing system. Trevor Kane, applying for a junior engineering position. I printed it out, walked to our weekly team meeting, and held it up. "Should we interview him?" I asked. The room erupted in laughter. Melissa shook her head firmly. "We don't hire thieves." I smiled, tore the application in half, and dropped it in the recycling bin. Justice finally had been served. Trevor's career was over, destroyed by his own greed. Meanwhile, SmartFlow was changing the industry, my name rightfully attached to every patent, every article, every success. The innovation he tried to steal had become my legacy instead, and that felt better than any revenge I could have imagined.